Executive VP. Oh, Jack, is it Jackson? Okay, I have him. Where are you on that?
Good afternoon, everyone. Continue to eat, please, and enjoy yourselves. I just want to tell you a few things. I'm Judith McCowan, and it's my honor to be here today with all of you. Before I give you my remarks, I wanted to introduce you to the staff from UCP that are here. So if you're here from UCP, would you stand up, please? So over here to my left, over here to my left is Heather, and Heather works in our Judiths program. Deb Camuso is one of our new program managers in day programs. Erica Marsh oversees our Life Fit program. Amanda is crazy and also works in the program. Then we have Linda back here, who somebody needs to take her camera away from her. Yeah. And then Julie is our director of development, and Linda is the wonderful newsletters that go out. That's the lady who does all of that work. She's amazing. And Jennifer Brubaker, who is my HR right-hand person. Lynn Craig is our controller at UCP. Tracy Gross-Fritz is our senior accountant. Bridget Pugh is the Senior Director of Operations at UCP. She is an expert in all things that we do in terms of differently abled care services. She's fantastic, and we're so lucky to have her. Darashni Zudu is the Chief Financial Officer at UCP. He's the important guy who always tells me, I need money. This is Patty. And Patty takes care of all of our contracts and all of, she takes care of board minutes. She does a lot of things that are important. Now this is my favorite person over here. This is Janine Latin, and Janine is our Chief Operating Officer. And I couldn't do what I did without her, I have to tell you. And all of these people, because really, I appreciate what, you guys can sit down, what Marissa said, but it really, anything good that goes on in an organization is usually not my fault. It's usually in spite of me. I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and what brings me here today. So on the podium, on the stand here, you see a picture. That's my brother, Michael. Michael's 3.5 years younger than I am. So he's about 50 years old today. He's in a nursing home. He can't feed himself or talk or communicate anymore. But this was Michael in middle school, around 9th grade. And Mike and I grew up together very close. One of the things that we didn't know about Michael when he was little, and we really didn't know about it, what was going on with Mike until he became an adult, was that he had Huntington's chorea. If you know anything about that disease, you know that most people never even display symptoms of that until much later in life. But what we would learn later, there were no genetic tests back when my parents had Michael, and my father did not know that he had Huntington's chorea at the time. And so only when he turned into his mid-50s did we find out that he had Huntington's chorea, and that when you inherited that disease from the paternal side of the family, the onset is in childhood. It is much more severe, and it is extremely debilitating and very quickly debilitating. So my brother and I grew up, and Mike doesn't look particularly disabled, but we grew up together, and I always knew that something was very special about my brother, not just because I loved him and he was my best friend, but he was special. One of the things that happened to Mike as he grew up in school, he was coming right behind me, and the teachers and the coaches and the staff at the school, they spent a lot of time comparing Michael and I. And so what happened was that it really got to be a regular occurrence that Michael would get grades in school based on how they related his performance as compared to mine. So is he applying himself or not? Is he realizing his full potential or not? Is he doing his best or not? And most of the time it was the not. And it got to be where by the time Mike was in middle school, he used to say, please come to my parent conference because it's going to be so bad and Dad's going to be so mad at me. My father was a Navy guy, and he was also a police sergeant in the Baltimore City Police Department, and so he was a man's man. And he wanted his son to be perfect, or at least something closely resembling that. And so my dad was tough because we didn't understand what was going on with Mike. And so how that influenced my life was that I became Michael's bodyguard. And so everywhere we went, Michael and I were inseparable. And Michael would sleep with me a lot of the time. We hung together everywhere we went. And we grew up close. I didn't understand what was wrong. I used to say to my parents all the time, something's wrong, we've got to figure out what it is, you know? But no one knew or understood until many years later just exactly what it was that was bothering him. So I watched him get judged based on things over which he had no control. I watched him get put in boxes and labels put on him that shouldn't have been there. And it really angered me as a young child because I knew something wasn't right, but I couldn't figure out just exactly what it was. And I think that's what really built inside of me the rabid passion for people with differing abilities that I have. If you know me well, you know that I'm pretty rabid about it. And that's why. Because rather than see my brother in his own right, what they were looking for was some reflection of me. I don't know what it was. But when Mike was in middle school, and you'll see him in his Army uniform, he really wanted to be like my father. My father was married in his dress blue Navy uniform. And so Mike had gone down in the basement and gotten into some of my father's Navy things and ended up shooting himself with tear gas that my father had from when he was in the police department. So, not good. And so I went to this Army surplus store that they had in Maryland back then called Sunny Surplus. And I got Mike Army fatigues, black shiny Army boots, Army, accoutrements of all kinds. And I think he wore that suit for about 4 years nonstop. It didn't smell good. And in this picture, we were just getting to Florida. We were going to Walt Disney World in June. And there he was, striking his best military pose, and trying to look real serious. And so what happened as a result of that is that it propelled me to major in education and communications because I really believed that the education system had failed my brother. I didn't understand it all at the time when I was going to college, but I knew something was really wrong and I didn't like it. When I came out of college, I started working in education administration, and one of the first things that we did is put together a school where, regardless of your ability, you were tracked on an individualized academic level, and you were given coursework based on the needs that you had, as opposed to based on some chronological, predisposed idea of what you should be doing. And then from there, I went into education more broadly and had the opportunity to work with Governor Glendening and President Clinton on education initiatives. I worked with the gentleman who wrote the American with Disabilities Act. He worked at the National Science Foundation when he wrote that. And we worked and collaborated together quite a bit on that. In April 2016, I learned that the CEO position was becoming available at UCP. And I thought Camp Hill was in a neighborhood of Philadelphia, because if you know, I live in Maryland, and so I thought, I can get to Philadelphia really quick. And I studied the organization, I looked at the 990s, I just didn't MapQuest it, that was my mistake. So I came up and I met the board, and when I found out where it was, I thought, Harrisburg, no way I'm going there, but I will participate and help the process, because I want them to get a really good person. And then I met the board, and it was over. I fell in love with these people because I have never seen people more committed to a mission and to a vision of helping people with disabilities. So selfless. There's no ego in this. There's no personal agendas. What I was used to in Washington was a whole different story. And so it was so refreshing to me to come here and see people who really cared and would do anything that it took to advance the cause for the consumers that they were serving. And then I saw the programs, and I saw consumers who were loved dearly. I saw compassionate care. I saw staff who would turn over every rock to find a way to love and to meet the needs of consumers. It was a beautiful thing, beautiful thing. One of the programs that we have at Lily Lane, I'll tell you something that I observed about that program when I toured there before I was offered it and became the CEO, is that I went there and they have a snake. And it's so cool because if you think about it, if you're a disabled person and you don't have good fine motor skills, how could you hold a pet without fearing dropping it? And so they have this snake. And the consumers love the snake, and the snake wraps around their hand or sits up in their helmet or wherever and loves to be with them. Isn't that just the coolest thing ever? I love that. And so I met staff and I met employees. And as I started to look more into the organization's history and look at historical financial results that I was able to find on Charity Navigator, it seemed to me that some of the things that UCP needed were some of the things that I thought I could leverage. And I started getting very attached. Well, Bob was a big part of that, and Lindsay Jordan, and people like that just made it a very irresistible proposition. And so I started working 1 year ago tomorrow for UCP. Isn't that seems like it went fast, didn't it? I know. We've made significant progress in the last year in filling. We had about a 30% staff vacancy rate because we weren't offering adequate wages, and I applaud the board's decision to join us in helping us raise wages by several dollars an hour to enable us to fill the many vacancies and staff positions that we have. Today, our vacancy rate is under 10%, and while we still have positions to fill, it's a different place now than it was 9 or 10 months ago. We restructured the leadership team. We restructured it to add subject matter experts in every line of business that we operate. So where we have day programs, we have a subject matter expert in day programs who leads that division. And in the residential services program, we have a residential services expert who leads that division. And similarly across all of the divisions. And then we found fortunate enough to attract Bridget Pugh. I thought would never accept a job offer from us because how could you land something like that? And she generously accepted and has made a huge difference in our organization already, just starting in August. I'm so grateful that she's here. We did an employee survey, a benefits survey a couple of months ago, and we asked the employees, what do you think about your benefits? Do you like them? Are they working for you? What do you wish you had that you didn't? And I'm happy to say that in 2018, in January, when we re-enrolled for benefits, a lot of the changes that staff asked for, we made. We were able to decrease the cost of parent and child health care, and family and mother and child health care, or mother and children health care, and also add spousal insurance back into the model that we didn't have before. We've done a lot of things, but we have a lot more to do, and so I want to talk to you for a few minutes about where we're going from here. So we have a vision for UCP for the future, and all of you are part of it because all of you are people that have everything to do with the future of this organization. We can't do it ourselves, and I certainly can't do it. I'm not smart enough, I'll tell you right now. And so without all of you, the staff and the board members and the friends of UCP, we just can't do it. The very first thing that we're going to start doing in 2018 is developing a new 5-year strategic plan. We will do that with the board and the staff of UCP's collaboration together. And we will develop a visionary 5-year plan that will take us through the next 5 years with the ambitious goals, but reachable goals. We are working now to recover, we will recover a minimum about $750,000, probably closer to $1 million, just because we are currently evaluating and correcting internal operating inefficiencies that we had. So where we had things like paper timesheets, for example, that everybody had to spend a lot of time entering by hand into a system, we're going to eliminate that. And so we're going to work smarter, but not harder. And that's going to return resources back into the organization that we can leverage for staff wages and for consumer benefits. That's going to help us a lot. We're going to maximize the occupancy and the services that we provide. We haven't heretofore sort of had business metrics in place where we understood, this is the capacity that we have in the day program. We have these openings, and we kind of need to fill them, because if we're running the airplane half full, that's not as good as if we ran it 3/4 of the way full. And so we're going to go to a metrics-based system, and I'm fortunate that my chief operating officer just has such a brain for that kind of stuff. It's just so brilliant. We will improve revenue and operating inefficiencies across the board, and that'll enable us to leverage more resources, as I said, towards advancing staff wage rates and professional development. We're going to develop a robust, and I mean robust, competency-based employee development program at UCP. What we've had heretofore is a fantastic employee onboarding process, but continuing education and development is something that we can do to better advance both the staff's understanding of how can we support creating good experiences that are meaningful with people, for people with disabilities, but also so that we can create opportunities for advancement for the staff that we have. Because today, you're in your job and you're kind of in your job. And so what we want to do is create a progression that makes sense for people so that they can advance their education here at UCP and advance their career as well. We are, as I said, going to streamline as many of our manual processes as possible. That's going to involve some technologies and some other things. I mean, we were talking last night, Erica and Amanda, about, gosh, how many thousands of dollars it costs you guys just to run back and forth to the office, and how just with computers we could eliminate so much expense, and we're going to do that. We'll issue regular inspirational communications directed to all staff, and the things that we want to talk to all staff about are engaging things. We want to engage them and help them be a part of the future of the company. We want them to understand that we're shifting paradigms just a little bit away from a focus on personal care, although personal care is critically important, but shifting a little bit in a more educational direction to say, how is what we're doing influencing the development of this consumer over time and across developmental domains? And are we offering the best experiences that we possibly can for each consumer at their level? So we take the labels off and we don't look at things through limits. We recognize people by their name instead of their disability. To be completely candid with you, I want to do a couple of outside-the-box things too. I want to create a special services division that will enable us to provide services like theater and dance and art and equestrian therapy and community events for people who have differing abilities to make friends and to build social connections. That's not happening right now for them. And so I think it's important. We're going to build a robust employment division because it's the right thing to do to ensure that all the barriers are knocked down in front of the people that we support. We'll be debuting early in 2018 our first efforts in that regard, where I'm going to release the custodians at our Ugly Drive building, because I think we ought to walk our talk, and so I think consumers ought to clean that building, don't you? And so that's what we're going to do, and we're going to train them. I have a colleague of mine from Baltimore that I worked with in a previous position that we created job cards and picture cards of all of the custodial activities that someone might need to do, and we're going to bring all of that to UCP and begin to use it there. And I'll tell you one more thing that might sound out of the box, but I really think that we're going there. And that is this. I think that in the future, I want to see us on a campus, not in a rented facility. I want to see us on a campus where we can have programs that support employment development, enabling consumers to develop job skills in whatever sort of discipline they want to work in, so that they can achieve competitive wages and competitive employment. And we take all the barriers, really we take them down. Let's get the labels off of people and let's help people succeed at whatever God has given them that is their potential in their life. The Special Services Division will be able to do amazing things. In the Special Services Division that I had in another company, we did all of the landscaping for the Kennedy Center. So I greenhouses and all of the plants that you see in the landscape at the Kennedy Center were grown by consumers in my programs. And then other consumers planted them and did all of the design work. And so we're going there. we're going there because we can and because we should. It's the right thing to do. We don't need to rent a space. We're bigger and we're better than that. And so what I want to say is that we're an organization on the move. We're going places. The people that work in this organization are committed to delivering gold standard, best-in-class services for every consumer that we serve, and to making sure that this is a people-centered organization. People-centered meaning that staff and consumers come first, that we care as much about staff and making sure that we remove obstacles from their daily work lives as we do for the consumers, because that's the only way we make it possible for success to happen in the programs. It's the honor of my life to be able to serve this program, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I really am. I'm humbled by it every day, and I will tell you again, it's not possible without the people in this room. But I also say, and I've done this for a long time, I've never seen anywhere a team of staff and board members assembled that has more collective energy to be able to transform the trajectory of people's lives because they care enough to step up and say, why not? That's what it's like here at UCP. And that means that nothing is impossible for us in the future. So it's my honor to serve you. It's my honor to serve the consumers. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Erica Marsh to come to the podium at this time. Erica is going to begin the presentation of awards of special recognition.
The Jeffrey W. Cooper Healthy Lifestyle Award is an annual award that was established in 2016 to recognize and continue to advance the efforts of former UCP President and CEO Jeff Cooper to raise awareness and focus on the importance of healthy lifestyle in lives of people with disabilities. The award is given annually to a person who currently receives services from UCP Central PA and who exemplify a healthy lifestyle. A healthy lifestyle refers to a person that is consistent with supporting, improving, maintaining, and enhancing health. This year we had 5 wonderful nominees for the award. One, however, stood out in terms of outcomes she has been able to achieve as a result of her commitment to a balanced diet and regular physical activity. We are pleased to recognize Patsy Jumper as the 2017 recipient of the Healthy Lifestyle Award. Patsy has changed her eating habits with the support of her Life Fit coach, sister, and brother-in-law. They have worked with Patsy to help her choose more appropriate foods to support her weight loss efforts. They also worked with Patsy to reduce the amount of food that she was eating throughout the day. Patsy is now able to participate in her own breakfast and pack her own lunch. She makes healthy choices with adequate portions. Patsy has cut out numerous foods that she came to realize were not beneficial to her at all, namely soda and daily sweet treats. Patsy now typically chooses water over soda. She opts for sugar-free candy. And at birthday and holiday celebrations in the day program, Patsy requests only a half portion of the cake. She continues to participate in the Life Fit program 2 times a week. In warmer weather, she likes to ride her bike and swim in her pool. She greatly enjoys taking walks while at the day program. As a result of Patsy's transition into a healthy lifestyle, she has lost 22 pounds and no longer receives daily insulin injections. Patsy is very proud of her efforts, as she should be. We are proud of Patsy too. At our office at Utley Drive, you will see Patsy's name engraved on the Jeffrey W. Cooper Healthy Lifestyle Award plaque. And here's our gift to you, Patsy. Please give her a round of applause.
Snacks and Hello Awesome notebook. So congratulations. Well done.
Thank you, Erica. Congratulations. What an honor. We're so proud of you. You know, we also have a gold medalist from the Olympics in our midst. Did you know that? Dana, raise your hand. There she is. So, I have the honor of talking to you about the Life Without Limits Award. The Life Without Limits Award is an award that recognizes individuals who stand apart from the rest in their support for the mission of the organization. Thank you. And for their devotion to supporting and helping the organization be everything that it can be and more. And I have to tell you that these two people, the Sweeney family, their son has attended our day program at 6th Street, and George and Kathy Sweeney have been friends of this organization for a long, long time. In fact, if you've ever attended a magic night that our organization sponsored, you've seen their fine, classy handiwork in wide open view, and it's raised so much money. These events have raised so much money for the organization, and they do this out of the kindness of their heart. They've donated their own personal things to be auctioned at the magic night, and have done so many things. And so this family has gone above and beyond so many times to make a difference for UCP. And if you know George and Kathy, you know that there couldn't be two more selfless people in this world. And God bless them. We're thankful for them. They're not able to be here with us today, and I miss them. But I did want to acknowledge their selfless and generous work on behalf of consumers and on behalf of this organization, because we wouldn't be the same place without Kathy and George Sweeney. I think this is cool. This is the Distinguished Volunteer Award. This award is only the third time this award's ever been given in the history of UCP. In fact, it was inspired by the retirement of UCP volunteer extraordinaire Richard Radcliffe, who was the inaugural recipient in 2012. This year it's my honor to announce to you that Marissa Tokarski is the recipient of the Distinguished Volunteer Award, and let me explain to you why that is. Marissa is a committed leader in the area of supporting individuals with differing abilities. In fact, this year, when our beloved board chair, Bob Wallace, became so ill, it was Marissa who stood up, jumped in, did everything she could. I see Marissa almost on a daily basis in my office. Really, she ought to have an office there, right next to mine. And she stepped up, stepped in, has done anything she could, from coming to our company picnic to going to our sports auction event. You name it, she's there, and she's always there. And I don't know how she gets her job done. I really don't know how you do that, but because it's amazing, really. We calculated it at the office, and we said, so Marissa probably has in a month maybe 1 or 2 hours for herself outside of sleep and with all of the volunteerism that you do. God bless you, Marissa. You're amazing. Marissa is, I'm going to read to you a nomination that was submitted. Marissa doesn't, I don't think Marissa knows this, that the organization submitted her for a nomination for her to receive an award. I'm going to read it to you. This is most evident in Marissa's willingness to step into the role of acting board chair when Bob Wallace's failing health left him unable to perform the duties of that function throughout a year of significant transition for UCP, and especially at pivotal moments. Marissa's quiet leadership and spot-on counsel have proven to be invaluable, certainly to me, most of all. By stepping into the role of acting chair, Marissa effectively committed to serve UCP board as the chair for 2 years. God bless you. We didn't even give her a Prozac prescription. She will be, after that, she will do her requisite year as the chair of the UCP Foundation Board, and so she's going to have 3 years. And actually, to tell you the truth, I've said this to her, I said, man, we got to change the bylaws and just keep you like that. No. But anyway, the key word about Marissa is that she's active. Despite her early elevation to board chair, Marissa has continued to be both creative and an idea generator and a reliable hands-on volunteer to every one of UCP's fundraising events. Over the past year, she's also been instrumental in developing and fine-tuning the concept for the brand new mini golf fundraiser that will be introduced in April of 2018. Marissa brings the personal touch to UCP programs. Her support for and advocacy of UCP's programs, staff, and consumers is without parallel. No matter the activity or the venue, whether it's a family event, a staff event, a training event where we're releasing cannons full of confetti, and, or any other thing, Marissa's there. She's the first one there, she's one of the last people to leave, and I appreciate you so much. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Marissa, for all you do. And without further ado, I will turn it back over to Marissa.
I'm really not a big fan of surprises. I had no idea. I saw you in shock, so thank you very, very much. So similar to Judith, someone named Michael is the reason and that I have the passion for what I do. Mine is my brother Michael. I remember when he was born 20 years ago, my parents were told by their doctor, he has Down syndrome. He's never going to amount to anything. He'll be lucky to even, read and write. Luckily, my grandparents were in the room because my dad was about to go after the doctor. So luckily we stopped that, so we didn't have to haul him out, call the cops in and get arrested and all that. So growing up, Michael, was Michael. If Marissa, if I or my sister Katie, got in trouble, Michael got in trouble too if he did as well. He was treated no different than my sister and I, growing up. It was because of my family being huge advocates for him, and then also organizations similar to UCP that provide the services and support to him, and then our family, made Michael who he is today. Just this past year, he graduated, from high school. He walked across the stage along with the rest of his classmates, being mainstream throughout. He was consistently on the honor roll, and really actually got upset when he got B's because, thought what B was bad, definitely wanted all, all A's. He's also, without a doubt, the best athlete in our family. He is always telling us of the 118 and counting Special Olympics medals, trophies and ribbons that he has. So he's always kind of rubbing that, in his face. And he's only 20 years old right now. Turns the big number 21 in January. So we're looking to add, to that total. But since his birthday is coming up and it's a big 21, we're planning a casino trip because he is very lucky. So we're hoping to, take him to rivers and, whatnot. So we're looking forward, to that. A couple weeks ago, marked another kind of take that moment with Michael. He got a job at our local nursing home and rehab.